to be a military veteran, deployed to a combat zone, and on top of that receive one of the highest decorations, which is the Purple Heart, which you only receive if you are injured in combat, and to stoop to the depths that this gentleman, and I would not even say person because I can't even view them as a person, and what they're going to rot in jail for the next 85 years is something that the veteran community needs to stand behind and speak out upon and essentially disown entirely to make sure that these individuals do not represent the military in any way, shape, or form. And that's because this story is about a gentleman known as Jacob Scott. Now, Jacob Scott did do all those things. He did serve honorably. He did deploy. He did get injured during combat. But as news has come out of the, I can't even say allegations anymore. These are proven in court that he has been accused as a child rapist who faked his own death, and on top of that is now sentenced to 85 years in jail. According to courts, it says that Jacob Blair Scott is a 44-year-old man that was found guilty of 1 count of child exploitation, 4 counts of touching a child for lustful purposes, and 9 counts of sexual battery. Now, Jackson County Circuit Court Judge Kathy King sentenced Scott to 85 years in prison plus $10,000 in fines. She said that Scott will essentially be serving a life sentence. I don't even want to think if this is like good behavior or anything like that. According to this report, it says investigators found Scott's small boat off the coast of Orange Beach, Alabama in July 2018. Officials found a gun and a note on the boat, but little forensic evidence indicated that a suicide occurred. According to the U.S. Marshals, a weeks-long search effort by authorities for Scott's body failed to find his remains. When Scott faked his own suicide, he was out on bond and had scheduled court hearing, but it failed to appear. Officials also discovered that Scott took out $45,000 from a bank account before disappearing. Scott was then added to the U.S. Marshals 15 Most Wanted fugitive list in January 2020 before he was arrested. Now, it does look like they did actually end up finding Scott over at an RV park over in Oklahoma, and he was never actually able to leave the country, where that money would have probably gone much further. From this situation, it does look like the judge and a lot of people that were at this case have spoken out. The judge in this case said that the information, the evidence that was there was more than she had ever seen before. Information was just so overwhelming, it was so blatantly obvious. The victim testified during the trial, saying that Scott had sexually assaulted her at least 30 times between 2016 and 2017, which stopped when she became pregnant. She gave birth to the baby, according to her testimony. If you think that is where this stops, and why I think the veteran community needs to step in at every corner possible, every angle they can, and create the most steep line in the sand they ever could find, is because the defense that Scott thinks that he can ride on to try and lessen his sentence or make it not seem as bad. This 14-year-old chick now has a baby, the rest of her life, emotional scarring and everything else, and what's sad is he is now weaponizing or using his own defense from his military service. Scott said during the trial that mental issues such as post-traumatic stress affected his mental state when the crimes were committed. Scott also pleaded with Jackson to take his mental health into consideration, stating that he was suffering from depression, was heavily medicated, and had relationship issues at the time of the crime that clouded his judgment. I agree that stress from combat, stress from these situations that you've been in, and obviously you have faced the enemy in some way, shape, or form, has led to issues or troublesome issues in your life, but not to the degree that you can project and put those levels, I would say, if not matching levels of lifelong issues onto other people. I want to say I'm always here to support OIF, OEF veterans that have been out there. Obviously, that's where I stand on this, and that's why I'm making a video about it, because there are bad apples in every group, every person, no matter how honorable they are. But what is important is that we delineate and we differentiate the differences between the people that are great human beings that are still productive members of society and people that have honestly served and done their time and have obviously taken sacrifices, whether that be physically as far as getting a Purple Heart, mentally if you include PTSD, and truly saying these people are pieces of shit. But that's where I stay on this, and that's where I stand, because the court has spoken, the people have spoken, and we finally get to see someone like this go behind bars like they should be. And honestly, I don't think he's going to have a great time. And honestly, I think this is going to be the biggest wake-up call, because no matter what his services or whatever in jail or in prison will not have any bearing or factor, because it will see him for what he is, and that is scum of the earth. And I don't get this mad about things usually, but this is where I say, finally, it's like an eclipse. The world aligns, and you only see it only so many years, and that's what I think. But let me know if you have any other cases like this where you feel like we need to delineate between these bad people that have served and, you know, had their limelight of bad string of issues, and maybe something like this. Or if you have any other stories, I'd love to hear what you think about this situation below. And do you think that military service should have any consideration in his sentencing, or do you think it has any bearing at all? Let me know down in the comments below. I think you know my opinions, but that's where that lies. But as always, if you have questions or other topics, hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.